neutral A7S3 plus wheels. So when I click on a clip, I just click on that effect, and what it does is it automatically applies a custom LUT effect and a color wheels. The way you do that manually is you go here, custom LUT, and color wheels are right up here. But when you do it that method, then color wheels comes behind the LUT. So everything you do with your custom wheels adjustment or your color wheels adjustment is happening after the conversion LUT. I like to make my adjustments before the conversion LUT. And the conversion LUT that I use is called Neutral A7S3. It's from Joel Phantom. He makes the best conversion LUTs that I've ever seen. He basically matches up. He matches the color science of every major top of the line camera with Ari's or Aries color science, which is cinema grade, Hollywood grade color science. So he's gone ahead and added the A7S3 neutral conversion LUT that basically replicates an Arri cinema camera look. So as you can see, that's raw, completely ungraded. That's the conversion LUT. Looks phenomenal. Looks great. Key to this, yeah, phantom LUTs. A key to doing this, making it look this good, is getting your exposure right in camera. Again, I mentioned it earlier, but my exposure, I always try and expose for 1 to 2 stops over. And when I do the conversion, it will transfer over pretty seamlessly. Then from here, I go through each clip. So I literally drag my mouse through each clip when I'm color grading, click on each one. I pull up my scopes here that you've been seeing here, and I always try and add a bit more depth to each of my shots. So I usually bump up the midtones just a touch. That looks a little overexposed, or it looked a little too bright or a little bland. But then I'll pull down the shadows. And as you can see, as I'm pulling these down, my video scopes on my waveform on the left there, they're reaching 0. And when they hit 0, they clip. So I pull them down just enough that they don't clip, just enough to 0. But already you can see it's adding more contrast, adding more depth, and the shot looks fantastic. This shot was shot auto white balance. There's grays. There's a lot of grays in this room, so auto white balance did a perfect job doing it. If the clip was not balanced properly, like say if it was too orange in there, what I would do is come into the highlight, shadows, and midtones wheel, and I would just pull the opposite color. So if it's too orange, I'd pull some blue into it. Or if it was too blue, I'd push some orange into it until I found something that looked good to me, that represented what I actually saw when I was there on site, like what I saw with my own eyes. Because my goal with this is I'm just correcting exposure and I'm just correcting white balance, because I know that afterwards I'm going to be adding my creative look with this adjustment layer, right? So I want as neutral of a look as I can across all my clips, that there's no crazy color hues or tones or anything. And I don't want it to be too aggressively graded before I then go add my look over the top. So the way I add my look, I've made my own adjustment layer. You can find adjustment layers online for free really easily. Pretty much every creator has them. Ryan Nagel has them. I just went inside Apple Motion and created my own just for sake of simplicity. But an adjustment layer, if you don't already know what it is, it's a layer that goes over the top of your clips, and anything you apply to the adjustment layer will apply to every clip underneath. Not the sound, just the visuals. So for explanation, we'll call this film look or creative look, because what we're going to do to this is an empty adjustment layer. There's nothing on it. We're going to go to M Film Look. We're going to apply M Film Look, the plugin. And like I showed you earlier, I do have a preset, but I'll go through it. I'll go through it manually here. This is also another way that you can correct white balance. If you're having struggles with white balance, you can click Enable White Balance, click the dropper and find a gray, and it will adjust it for you. As you can see, nothing changed because the white balance was already accurate. On the lookup table, they have like this built-in lapis plugin. I don't love it. So I go in here and I have a bunch of different LUTs from a bunch of different creators. I always love to support creators as many as I can, because like I said, that's who I learned from. That's who I draw inspiration from. So whether that's buying their LUTs or following their tutorials, I gather as much as I can. A lot of these LUTs I have from Overlay. It's from that same pack. It's from that same Landon, by the way, pack. Um, the one that I actually use in my preset is one of his teal and orange LUTs. I believe it's RE8 Enigma. Yeah, that's the one. As you can see, it's banding some colors. Part of that is because this is in proxy view, not optimized. But I apply that LUT or any LUT that I want. Then I change the intensity. That's a little too intense for me. Drop it down. That looks pretty good. Like you see some orange tones in the wood. That looks nice and natural, but not overly creative. So push like maybe, yeah, 0.39, 0.4. Then for me, I like to add aberration. You guys already know. This is your mask control. You can drag it out so that it's not impacting as much of the image. You can drag it all the way so it's like only catching the fringe of the image, which I think is a pretty cool look. I don't remember off the top of my head what my settings are, but I think I dial back the intensity just a touch. And the softness, this is just the softness of the feather. I like to have it feather in a little bit more so that it starts off really subtle and it gets more exaggerated at the end. And then the range is just how big the mask is. Pretty simple effect. I think it looks cool. But that is totally creative choice and totally up to you. Next thing, lens blur adds kind of like a vintage thing. You can see when I add that, it like instantly narrows your focus to the center of the screen because the bed gets all blurry. Everything around here gets blurry. That's a bit too much for me. I'm going to soften that up. I'm going to increase the range a little bit and feather this out just a little bit more. I don't want to be crazy blurry, but that's enough for me. You can add film grain if you want and adjust the intensity. I find that film grain has a tendency to like pixelate your footage and make it look lower quality sometimes if you overdo it. So I would hold off on film grain. If you do add it, try not to add too much. Same for a vignette. That's obviously that's distracting dark. So we layer off the intensity quite a bit. Maybe feather that out a bit more like we do the aberration. And that's pretty much it from scratch. That's my JT Visuals signature look right there. It's subtle, but at the same time, there's some depth to it. And I think it looks great. So I encourage you all to not copy me, but experiment with your own style, with your own look. Find something that looks great. Jerry does fantastic work with his colors. He's got a really unique look. It looks awesome. James does too. Claudio, Studio 910, they all have very distinct looks that look awesome, and that's a really good way to make your work stand out as well. Yes, Anthony, I will discuss Topaz. Um, I
Amazing, man.
believe,
You just keep on giving. Let's go to Topaz.
yeah, I believe that's all that I had covered for Reels, like the specific breakdowns. So, real quick, I'll just show you my export settings. Um,
Yes, sir.
I I have my own JTV export just for sake of simplicity. I just know it's going to Instagram, so I know how I'm going to do it that way. But basically, all it is an export file, default, multi-pass, better, always better. Resolution 1080p. I format it for social platforms just for the sake of I know it's going to Instagram, so I'm going to do that. Um, when you're posting to Instagram, don't ever post a 4K video to Instagram because Instagram will compress that 4K resolution down to 1080p and it will automatically make your video lower quality even though you uploaded 4K. So even if you edit in a 4K timeline, that's totally fine. I recommend it. But when you export a 1080p video for when you upload to Instagram. Now we'll pull up Topaz and I'll just real quickly show you my settings. I've got our announcement video in here. As you can see, the resolution was 4K, 29 frames per second. I edit all my Instagram videos in 29 frames per second. It's the smoothest flow for Instagram. Um, and I highly recommend putting all of your videos on that same frame rate.
Cooking,
For
man.
the video
Looks good.
itself, let's see if I can. Oh, yeah, there we go. If your Topaz doesn't look like this, it's probably because you're on a different version than mine, but the settings are the same. They
Mm,
just look slightly different. Um,
hmm
so I don't do any presets here. I just go enhancement. I turn on enhancement. For this video, it was 4K. This is why I recommend exporting from Final Cut in 1080p so you don't have to change this. But I
hmm
would go 1080 by 1920 so that it's vertical, 1080 wide by 1920 tall. For the video type, I go progressive and I do Proteus for the model. You can experiment with all these different things. Proteus and Thea are really good, but I find that Proteus, especially when you have a lot of motion blur in your videos, like moderate motion blur, um, that it maintains the integrity of that blur without overly crystallizing it, if that makes sense. Um, Recovered detail, I usually try and crank this up to like 70 or around. It depends on the video itself. If the video looks crisp from the export, like from Final Cut, then I'll keep this like 50 to 70 range. But if it really needs some help, I will crank it all the way to 100 sometimes. But a baseline, I usually go about 70 because I want to maintain the integrity of the video that I made without like over sharpening it, over making it look like all uh like Play-Doh-y. Um, then we'll go enable the parameters, fix compression. I bump this up to about 40, improve detail. I bump this up to about 40. And then sharpen, I don't like to over sharpen, so I use sharpen around like 20. Everything else I leave at 0 and I just export it as is. 29 frames from the original timeline, export it as is. I'm not claiming that I have the best Topaz settings. I'm not claiming that you should copy this. I'm just saying this is what I do. Um, and who knows? I may change this by tomorrow. So this is just what I do for now. That's what works for now. But I do recommend running all of your videos through Topaz when you're finished, just to give it that extra little bit of crisp clarity. I'm shooting 60 frames per second. My timeline in Final Cut is 30 frames per second. Yes. Um, well, it's 29.9 technically. And Uh, yeah, that's pretty much it. The export settings, I just briefly went over them, but it's pretty much.
You cooked it, man.
I'm deeply, deeply, deeply humbled by the support and everybody's attentiveness. Just scrolling through this, I see some Utah people, but I see that my dad is actually in the chat. So since dad's here, I'm gonna share something about him. Um, the reason I make videos in the first place is is because of my dad's. And I focus so heavily on audio because I don't know why it's so hard. Uh, when I was a kid growing up watching movies, I was watching a movie with my dad one time. It's called August Rush, and it's about a kid that he loses his parents. He becomes a musician. His parents come to concert and they hear him, and they are immediately connected with their kid, and uh, it was a form of connection that's only possible through music. My dad, wow, dad turned to me and he said, "Music's the most powerful language on earth." Um, so that's why I focused really hard on it.
Any last remarks, JT, before we jump?
I'm reading through these comments on the Facebook page as you're going through this and reading through the Zoom chat on the side too. I am just beyond beyond humbled by the response from everybody. So happy that you guys gained value, and really, really, really grateful to be able to be in this position. I'm grateful that I've got the results I've gotten over the last few weeks so that you guys will trust me to teach you. Um, it's yes, sir. I know it looks like an overnight success to gain 10,000 followers in 7 days, but it's been a long time coming. Trust me. I poured all of my knowledge into this tonight, and I will continue to add more. So thank you guys.